So, point number four, news story number four of the month is a little exhibition and an attendant website that you introduced me to, Mr. Brockman, and that is
It's all my fault again.
it's all your fault. It's all your fault. But I'm really happy that you showed me this, and that is the Below the Surface website and exhibition from Amsterdam. What got you excited about this?
I picked this up off Twitter. It was being circulated on Twitter by a number of colleagues, in fact.
Yeah, actually,
Um,
after you showed me it, I found that someone had tweeted me with it. Actually, I was like, oh,
yeah,
thank you. Yeah, someone
yeah,
called Jenny.
and I think it's appropriate that you and I both found out about it through social media, effectively, or were tipped off about it through social media, because it's very much an online, deliberately online piece of outreach.
Mm. Mm.
It is a project that's been going on in Amsterdam. It's to do with the large scale building operations in Amsterdam, building metro, apart from anything, amongst other things. And I was particularly interested in it partly because of what it is and what it does, and also because a few years ago I was involved in a similar attempt to put archaeology and archaeological finds online with a schools project I was working on here in London.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I love about it is two things. Well, the things that I love about it. First of all, it is beautifully produced. It has been really thought through, and the fact that also they, I haven't looked at the Dutch version of the site, only at the English, and the English version of the site will be the envy probably of any archaeological unit in this country, being able to produce, because basically what you've got is a website portal that enables you, if you're a finds person, you can go online and look at their catalogue of finds, which they posted up with high quality HD photographs, identifications, and so on. If you're interested in what pottery was being traded in and out of Amsterdam in the late Middle Ages, it's there in that online archive. But also, and this is what really won it for me, alongside all the proper reporting and interpretation, and done to a very high standard, you've also got the ability as an individual to go in and look at this stuff and curate it yourself, and even create your own online exhibition. And in fact, the thing that really got me thinking this is something very special and that people are really engaging with. There's because part of the work involved draining the bed of a canal. They took all the material. They looked at all the material that was lying on the bed of this canal and below, and in the sediments. And one of the most recent objects they found was a mobile phone. And an individual had gone onto the site, used the app which enables you to create your own little exhibition. They pulled out just this particular artifact, this mobile phone, and they'd entitled this exhibition, well, the F word, basically. Okay. In other words, what the person would have said perhaps when they were leaning over the bridge and dropped their phone into the canal.
So to use a Father Ted word, OFAC.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
But and that was, it was funny, but it was also take a piece of archaeology and making it special and different and fun, but also making a comment about life, the universe, and everything in our modern lives, and how much we depend on these items.
Yeah. And crucially, in that sense, it's in that sense, it's the truth of the purpose of some of this stuff, and this actually really links in with some of the stuff we've been talking about in other segments this month. Is that moment where the artifact becomes relevant to the person who's watching it and observing it, and in that, and sometimes, for archaeologists, we are creating stories. Some people would say that we are constantly remaking stories about the past. and the opportunity for people to be able to essentially highlight what they see as significant in this collection and have their own little display of it is a wonderful one. I actually shared it with the sort of the comments along the lines of, have you ever wanted to reorganize a museum?
Yeah.
You know, have at it. And it is a wonderful exercise. Someone someone commented, I think this was on Twitter, saying that can you believe that they haven't even found a single discarded bicycle? Oh, what sort of do these people not know how to treat their canals?
That's beautiful. No, I mean, I think the other thing about it, and you're right to make the connections with what we were talking about earlier, and I think particularly back through the idea of a people's archaeology and accessible archaeology, which actually you could, if you're being benign about metal detecting, you could say, that there's an urge there to be involved, right back to where we started with archiving, because what they've done here brilliantly is put this significant archive of artifacts online, accessible worldwide. So in terms of conservation and preservation of the record, which we're always talking about, so long as the website can be maintained, and that's always an issue with digital, as we know. Digital archiving is an issue as much as the archiving of paper documents and bits of ceramic, boxes of ceramic building material, quote, aka bricks.
In particular, things like server space and
absolutely. But this is the best kind of outreach because it's both comprehensive and flexible, and it can be used as the individual who's going onto that site needs it.
And I think it's really good because it's a great way to sort of invite people, I suppose, to capture the reactions that they probably have when they go to conventional brick and mortar museums into something which is shareable. And I mean, I think I've used this phrase in previous watching briefs, but archaeologists, metal detectors, private collectors, the curious public, all of these people have one thing in common. All of us have one thing in common. That is that we are stuff focused. We are inspired by stuff, and this is a really good example actually of letting people have at it. Let people play with the stuff, and out comes some entirely valid responses and reactions. And so actually, even on the website, for example, there's a very interesting thing where they've taken what looks like a pair of dentures or a set of dentures, a thimble, some glasses, and possibly some, I'm not sure if that's metal or if it's lace work, but basically they've created a little face out of that stuff. That's how much more human could you get? And it's all done in a way that doesn't compromise the material, doesn't alter its ability to be researched in a conventionally academic sound way, but it ultimately also makes this material tremendously accessible.
Can I make one last point as well?
Play with
about this, Mark, and again, I can't help but reflect it back to my my own practice, if you like. I worked on, say, a schools project with and it wasn't just an archaeological project. It was about mixing archaeology and art. I was working with an artist called on that particular project. It's called Take Me to the River, and again, we'll put the link in. But even further back than that, back at the turn of the century, when the Tate Modern was opening on Bankside, and that wonderful conversion of the old power station, that people who are familiar with it, they got an artist called Mark Dion to undertake a project where they took material from the Thames foreshore in front of the Tate Modern, where the coal wharf was, where they used to bring fuel in for when it was a power station, and that material was gathered up, cleaned up, and put into a Victorian museum cabinet and drawers as a cabinet of curiosities. It wasn't interpreted archaeologically, but it was put there as an event, as
Mm.
this material from this place that you can be curious about.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, when we were doing our project, we got the kids, these were primary school kids, um, to um, to gather material from, actually it was the beach at North Woolwich in that case, and to try and look at it in terms of archaeological objects rather, but also to use it to spring their imaginations.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we got them to write stories about it. So, for example, one girl found this object, and the I think she turned it into a story about a Chinese princess.
Right.
So it was really very special. We got them to do art, to work with artifacts. We got them to scan them. We got them to draw their own pictures, write it up. And again, that's what this Dutch project enables people to do as well. It sort of helps people to. It just makes it much more.
It's sort of exploring the truths of these
Yeah,
artifacts.
yeah,
In so much as, I mean, what you just described outside the Tate is right. It's almost like a palimpsestic collage. The different materials from different layers laid out for people to look at and understand and try and interpret. And it's kind of also opening up to people the fact that actually, okay, yes, there will be things that we can prove with facts, and that is part of the truth of the material and how it came to be in a place. But actually, the truism of your interaction with the artifact may well be entirely different. For example, a story about a Chinese princess, as opposed to actually, what this maybe piece of broken pottery is. This kind of thing. It's this kind of interaction that I can completely get behind. And again, I'm so pleased that someone sent the link my way. Definitely.
yeah. I mean, just to say, and as an archaeologist, can I just say as well? I mean, I've approached the Amsterdam story as an archaeologist, but the Take Me to the River project, which I did with an artist called Helen Marshall, in fact, who's her principal interest nowadays is in photography and collages, made up of massive collages made up with photographs of individuals and things like that. She's done a lot of very interesting work, but working with an artist and an artistic sensibility on archaeological material actually made me think in a much more free way about what I was actually doing, what I was actually saying, how I was interpreting it. Once upon a time, I would have thought that telling a child that a piece of Victorian pottery, put it this way, if a child had said to me that this piece of pottery had come from Africa, I'd say, oh no, it's Victorian. It's Victorian. It's from such and such pottery or whatever, and I'd be correcting them.
Mm-hmm.
What was happening on that project? I'd be saying, oh, that's really interesting. What makes you say that? Because I think what it is so and so, and isn't it wonderful? We can all have these ideas, and I might be able to show this in the book, but what you make of it is actually down to you. And if you want to be creative about it, that's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
I love this blurring between archaeology and creativity, because I think deep down archaeology is creative, and I think this website is actually enabling that, and I think that's one of the things that's so brilliant about it.
Okay, cool. I suppose I wouldn't even say deep down. I think you're you're doing archaeology wrong if you're not being somehow creative. I think, without a doubt. But okay, cool. So those are our 4 news stories for the month, and I think, I suppose number 4 was a real pleasure to end on.